Skylanders Imaginators Lost Imaginite Mines is a level pack overflowing with wasted potential. As the title suggests, it features the Lost Imaginite Mines, a massive resource of Imaginite for the Ancients, which apparently was used to create Skylands itself. Cool stuff! And maybe we'll finally get some answers about what Imaginite is, how it works, where it came from, or any of that. Blobbers sure seems to suggest we will during his opening monologue. But no such luck. The only thing you learn about Imaginite in this level is that it's magnetic, because the level gimmick is built around magnetic polarity. Aside from that, you get nothing. You don't even learn who inhabited this town outside of the mines. You don't learn what this big slab of Imaginite is capable of, or how it differs from the Imaginite you see elsewhere, and you certainly don't get any more info about who the Ancients are or how they discovered mind magic. So what do you get if not world building? Well, you get a character arc for Blobbers, one of the franchise's most prevalent side characters. And to be fair, it's done reasonably well. Blobbers is ubiquitous and inescapable, but for all his cameos and purported intelligence, he's never had his own time in the spotlight. He's everywhere and hangs out with everyone, but is a totally inconsequential nobody. So when he personally discovers the Lost Imaginite Mines and comes in contact with the Imaginite's power, he goes mad at the possibility. Finally, he has a chance to matter, to do something impactful, to make people take him seriously. Then, in karmic retribution, he gets flung through the air, cast aside as usual. It's very humorous and poetic. In his bid to finally attain relevance, he's more irrelevant than ever. It caps off with a predictably heavy-handed resolution where Blobbers saves the day and learns that what makes a man is his character, not the power he wields. But it's surprisingly not too overbearing. It's kinda tempting to see the writing in this level pack as a strict dichotomy, like they could either give Blobbers a character arc or give you lore about the Ancients, but not both. Except that's totally ridiculous. They had more than enough time and dialogue lines to include characterization and world building, they just wasted most of it on senseless quips and forgettable one-note gags. It would have been really cool to learn what this decommissioned robot actually did before he retired, for example, or to hear what Blobbers thinks about the technology and utility of the mines as you explore them, but you don't get any of that. To make matters worse, some of these character gags are reused from the very first game in the franchise. I guess they thought you just wouldn't notice. So the writing is overall mediocre with a couple spare highlights. I can handle that. How's the actual gameplay? Well, regrettably, it's much the same. The level pack features one gimmick with two distinct mechanics. You can use magnets to push and pull platforms, or push and pull big explosive spheres. It's visually interesting and has a lot of potential, but much like the storytelling, there's practically nothing here. With the exception of one platforming puzzle and two rolly ball puzzles, every obstacle can be overcome thoughtlessly. The combat is just as woefully lackluster, leaning heavily on recycled enemy types. I straight up didn't see a single new foe for the level's entire duration. Well, unless you count the boss battle. Though, speaking of that, it's easily one of the worst fights in the game. Sure, it's reasonably challenging to avoid taking damage, but it drags on way too long. The boss has this big shield, see, and after you lower the shield, it's only vulnerable for a few spare seconds before it becomes invulnerable again. So it's more like you're just taking turns walloping on each other. Even the sea monster in Scholarville had more openings than this guy. After all this, it may sound like I outright hate the Lost Imaginite Mines, but I really don't. I'm disappointed with it, sure, but it's still got some gorgeous visuals and clever writing. I just can't imagine ever wanting to play it again, which is a shame because I regularly revisit Thumpin' Wumpa Island. I guess they can't all be winners.